Hi guys, this is Dean from Leading Minds Australia with this week's edition of Insights from the Driver's Seat. I can remember one of my mentors saying in a training one day that we have to have a breakdown before we have a breakthrough. And I can recall quite vividly being struck by that comment, but not necessarily understanding or appreciating all the power that was contained within it. Now fast forward a few years and I started martial arts. I did 8 years worth of martial arts in a freestyle form of karate. And it was on the third training that I ever did that the instructor that I had at the time taught me one of the most powerful lessons that I'd ever learnt throughout that entire 8 years that linked directly to that comment that sometimes we have to have a breakdown before we have a breakthrough. See, the instructor got all of us students together, got us around in a circle, and he said, I want to show you something really, really important. And he proceeded to lay down on his back in the starfish position. He then asked the biggest student in our class, a guy who was about 140 kilograms, to come and sit on top of him and pin him to the ground. And then, completely relaxed and without a moment's of hesitation, our instructor just looked at us and said, watch this. Within the blink of an eye, he'd shoved one hand out, he'd slapped his assailant in the face, came back and got him on the other side of the head, reached up, grabbed that gentleman's ear, twisted that ear and rolled this 140 kilogram man over onto his back, so now suddenly the tables were turned. And while our instructor sat there on top of this individual, he looked at us and he said, what's the lesson? Now initially the lesson in my head was, don't mess with you. But then he stared each one of us dead in the eye and slowly said, the body always follows the head. It was at that moment I understood the power of the comment, we have to have a breakdown before we have a breakthrough. Sometimes in business we lose a massive client, sometimes we don't land a big opportunity. Sometimes people who we've trusted and worked with for a long time leave us or we leave them. And I suppose on a personal level, at times we all see marriages and long-term partnerships break up. In some cases, from a physical sense, we can lose our physical health, our mental well-being, or our emotional well-being. And it's in those moments of breakdown that often we find the biggest breakthroughs for ourselves. We can delve more deeply into why did the client walk? Why did we not close the opportunity? Why did we or the individual leave that relationship, that marriage, that partnership? It's in those moments that we seem at our lowest that often we can get the most profound insights, the most important lessons, and ultimately the biggest gifts to grow through adversity. So the next time you're feeling challenged, remember that sometimes you have to have a breakdown before you can have a breakthrough. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, overworked, overcommitted, overburdened, that's your biggest opportunity to have the breakthrough in your thinking, the breakthrough in your insight that can allow you to turn that problem into the biggest gift, the biggest opportunity you've ever had. Do that, enjoy the ups and downs, remain calm, and remember, your next breakdown might be your biggest breakthrough. Here's to your success.